Okay, so we're online. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. All right, we're live on Facebook and YouTube. We got a new friend in the house, Lauren Aroney, Blue Star Transmissions. I believe it's the name of her thing. And we're going to talk to her a little bit, but right now we're going to play the intro and allow people time to come in. So we'll be right back in a minute and 19 seconds. How's it going, everybody? We've got a beautiful, beautiful, beloved sister, Lauren Aroney, in the house. I don't know her, typical Soulspeaks style. We're going to get to know each other in front of all of our brothers and sisters. I don't normally talk to people before we do a show because I like to keep it spontaneous, but I went to her website, and she does some incredible stuff. Stuff like Sar Ali does some stuff similar, although they're all three unique, and also Haruko, Blue Star Child, out of Shasta. Some really off-planet geometry stuff, so maybe we'll take a look at one or two of them. And and get to know Lauren. Welcome to the show, and thank you for coming in and sharing space with us and honoring us with your presence all the way from Australia, right? You're in Australia?
That's right, yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a joy to be here.
Yeah. It's always nice to meet new people. This is what it's all about. And your energy speaks for itself. And of course, your creations behind you are a big part of that. So I'm anxious to hear about how this all happened. But, I used to ask everybody this question, but I don't ask everybody this now. But I have to ask you because of what I picked up on your website. When did you wake up? Did you have a wake-up experience, or have you been doing this your whole life?
Yeah, mine was a gradual experience over many, many years. There wasn't one moment. I felt like I always felt really different from a young age. But when I was about 18, 19, just like at the end of high school, really, it's that time in your life where everyone's asking you, what kind of career do you want? What do you do? What do you want to do when you leave school? And those questions are not important to me. All I wanted to know was, what is the meaning of life? Yeah. And what is my purpose on earth? That's all I was interested in. So I just pursued those questions because they're just burning inside of me. And I just went from there. I just started reading books, reading channeled material, spiritual books. And then as the information comes in, the remembrance gets sparked and you're like, oh, I feel like I read this before. I feel like I already know this information. And it just snowballs and just starts, awakening in increments and just slowly over time. And I'm 36 now. So yeah, it's just a gradual remembering and reclaiming of soul gifts and meeting soul family. And wow. Yeah.
So did you have some of the typical characteristics are your family thought you were crazy? They didn't understand what you were talking about.
Yeah, there's still stuff I don't share with my family. I
right.
kind of pick my moments. But I was always the creative one in my family, dancing, singing, music, performing. I kind of hid a lot of my spiritual interests for a while from my family because I was afraid that they wouldn't understand. My family's just very mainstream. And they're actually very open and more accepting than I gave them credit for. So, yeah.
Australia seems to have more and a more accepting kind of vibe to me. My wife's from Adelaide, and of course
Oh,
we
cheers.
interviewed a lot of people. And then in the demographics of Soulogy over 9 years, it would be Melbourne, Sydney. There's another, I can't think of it on the top of my head. Of course, Adelaide's even up there. But these cities, like for the size of them, to have that strong of a representation in the Soulogy demographics compared to big cities like London or Chicago or New York or LA, it always struck me. And then, of course, talking to people from Australia, they just seem to have a little different vibe. They're a little more chill, a little more relaxed, and a little more open. Do you have?
Yeah, that's what we're known for, being chill.
Yeah, I'm serious. They're just like totally chill. So, like a lot of people talk about different, essences coming in, and communicating with them on their journeys to kind of open up doors and portals and different skills and abilities, missions and that type of thing. Have you had much of that go on through your journey?
Yes. That's part of the remembering for me. When I started really channeling sound and words, which I think I really gave into a lot more around 2012 and started sharing with people, I began to understand that there were lots of energies that I could bring through, and some were stronger than others. So at the moment, there's the Syrian energy, which I'm very connected to, and the Arcturian energy, and some other ones which are not linked to a star system. They are just a consciousness, like, for example, what I would call the divine feminine or the divine mother consciousness that has a very specific vibration.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't link that to a star system.
No.
But the Syrian energy feels really strong. But at the moment, it's Arcturian. Everything I feel like I'm bringing through is Arcturian.
Wow. And so do they, because I talk about this stuff because there's so many people by their own admission, not somebody else's judgment, that are waking up, they're like, what's going on? I had a Kundalini experience, or I heard a voice, or, just different things happen. Do they come in? Have they come in with specific intel for you, or do they also come in with collective intel?
Yeah, both, definitely both. But always the collective intel is going to relate to individually as well.
True. Yeah.
It's interesting, as we're talking about this, the light language is wanting to come through, and I feel them really present. It'll come through. It'll just burst in a second. No. But yeah, with the Arcturians and the Syrian energy, their mission and their message is that our job is to come back to our essence, our God essence. That's it. And it can be a lot simpler than we humans want to make it, the spiritual journey. And the spiritual journey for each person is really individual. You don't have to channel. You don't have to read this book, that book, do this meditation. You get to create your own connection with spirit, with the I am, with source.
Yeah.
That's another message I get, is that we're really here to celebrate our own unique essence and vibration. That's really important, and that can be celebrated and actually bring us together. That's a message I get over and over again.
Yeah. And don't forget the human. And don't forget the human.
Don't forget the human.
Right? Like the human is the hero. I mean, it's like we tried to separate ourselves. We wanted to, like, get me out of here, and like, all the things that we attributed to the human as, being lesser than, like, say, on the cosmic totem pole, when actually it looks like everything's flipping. It's like, you said something about a celebration, the guy that was on a minute ago, celebration, an energy of celebration. It's like we're hitting this place where not only are we coming into awareness of who we are, what we're part of, but it's like we're realizing that the universe is going, hey, you guys are something else, man.
Yes. Yes, we are. We are very, very, we're actually just so sacred and special. Yeah. And you mentioned before that escaping kind kind of desire. I definitely went through that as part of my awakening of really not wanting to be human and rejecting the human experience because it's too much for me. I'm too empathic. I'm too sensitive. I can't find my soul family. I feel alone. I went through a long period of that where I would literally just be outside staring up at the sky going, just take me back. Like,
Right.
just take me back on the ship. Like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. But thankfully I've moved through that now. And a big part of that is just accepting, like, this is the earth walk. Accept it. Be in the body. Celebrate being human. You're allowed to make mistakes and be silly. You don't have to be this perfect kind of monk walking around all the time. That's not what you're here to be this time. You know, we're here to be human and make mistakes and learn from them, move on, and just do your best to speak your truth and shine your light. Like, there is no one else like you in the whole universe. Like, that is so special.
Yeah.
And
Right
especially on Earth. I remember, I can't recall which spiritual teacher or author said it, but they said, you know, there is queues of beings waiting to incarnate here because this is such a special experience.
Yeah.
Being physical, being a divine being in a physical body. Yeah.
God's in the flesh. Goddess is in the flesh. And that's like, and I, say this a lot, but, my own conversations with them is, we have all had these fluctuations in our journey, and some of the downward spirals, let's just say. And I tell them, hey, I'm down here doing the work. I mean, I'm going to have a say so in this. I'm going to be heard. I understand that, you guys are, representing something that's far beyond my understanding, and I'm listening, but, can you help me out here? But I think that's part of that whole self-love quotient, the getting rid of the skins of, self-hatred and, and just, judgment, self-judgment. What happens when you clear that stuff, it only makes sense. The inverse comes in and you start to have a higher level of love and respect and reverence for yourself. And then it just starts to, play out in your external experience. Have you had that happen? I mean, as you evolved, has your,
yes,
I know this sounds cliche, but has your life gotten better? Has it, gotten smoother? Yeah.
It has. One of the biggest challenges I had to move through was an addiction to smoking cigarettes. That was a huge thing my whole life. I was a heavy smoker, and people always would say to me, it doesn't fit with you. Like, you don't seem like you smoke. But it was a huge thing for me about suppression of my voice, suppression of my truth, self-sabotage, a huge one for me. And once I let go of that, everything just started happening really fast for me.
Wow.
Yeah, everything just fell into place really quickly, and I really didn't expect it. Even the process of letting go or quitting was really a lot easier than I thought. I was preparing myself for a big battle, but it wasn't.
And a massive weight gain. That's what a lot of people say.
Yeah, I thankfully didn't. Well, I actually became a healthier weight. I was quite, I wasn't healthy.
Oh, you were.
Yeah, so I became a healthy weight. Yeah.
So when these now, I've seen some people call these, and again, yours is very unique. They like these two that you've got on the wall. I've seen them referred to as light language images or light language graphics. Would you say that's what it is?
I call my work transmissions because they're a transmission of energy. They contain a lot of different elements and work through lots of different dimensions. There are a lot of people who create what I call light code work, which is specifically like light script. Like, it looks like an alien type language, which people
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. So I would call that more light codes, but my transmissions behind me, they are light codes because they're transmissions of light and sound and healing and love.
Do they come with a verbalized light language?
Yes, often when I'm creating them, there will be a point where some of the language comes through and I can feel it going into the image, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And they do work together. The light language works with the geometry. So the Arcturians explained to me that the geometry is like, the sacred geometry is like this fabric of the universe. And when you then put movement and flow and light and your will into the geometry, then you're creating this something that's like alive and flowing and moving. So it's almost like the geometry could be the divine masculine, and then the language, the light, the will, that's the feminine, and they're working together kind of seamlessly. They explained it much better
No, that's good.
when they said it to me, but yeah, they work as one. Yeah.
So, in regard to the mother goddess energy that you were talking about earlier, I know Morgan, that's a big part of Morgan's makeup. And did you, what did that essence, or what has that essence brought to the table for you in terms of intel, in terms of your own mission and your own identification with it, or purpose with it? Is there something that stands out in regard to what the mother goddess energies brought to you?
I did have a very important awakening moment that happened probably in my mid-20s with the mother goddess energy, where I was taking a nap and I slipped in between the worlds, and I had this really intense vision where I got shown all of these images of the earth and people in the cosmos really, really quickly in my mind's eye. And then I had this voice just come in and speak to me. And she was the mother goddess. And she just came in with this intense love, compassion, but also power. And she just said, nurture her, nurture her, nurture her. And I'm still working with what that means, because it changes. But essentially that message was to nurture myself and to nurture my connection to source and my essence.
Yeah.
But her energy was just so all encompassing. Like I felt her voice resonating in my whole body, like all my cells.
Wow.
And that was a definite, very important awakening event for me. Yeah.
Well, and the reason again I'm asking is so many people are waking up, but and I realize that everybody has different types of clairs, or at least it appears that way right now. So this voice spoke to you. Is that something that is common with some of the other essences or star family like the Arcturians, or was it a little bit unique?
That particular experience was very unique.
Yeah.
I was actually a little bit, I got a bit of anxiety and got scared, because it's kind of like the whole experience took over me and I couldn't get out of it. I didn't understand what was happening at the time.
Yeah.
But now when I receive messages from that divine mother goddess energy or the Arcturians, I hear clairaudiently a general message that gets transmitted to me. And but with the divine mother energy, her energy is like really, it's all about presence. There's not a lot of words there. It's just an emanation.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But the energy behind that is just, it's very comforting, and I feel very, very safe and held when that comes through me.
Yeah.
And it is like this mother of the world, just like, I've got you, you're my children, everything is going to be fine.
Yeah.
Just keep trusting yourself, like really awakening to your own personal power. Like you are not a little being, you are a grand being. Yeah. All of you.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I can really relate to that. I didn't really get a clear understanding of it till I met Morgan in 2015, but my first couple of years reawakening was I was on the streets. I lived on the streets, and I remember I wrote a lot of poetry. That's when I started soulogy, and I would just load it up to the internet from my phone. But I remember writing the words and understanding that I was in the arms of Mother Universe. And I would be, laying on a park bench and 3 o'clock in the morning and asking those questions like you were asking when you graduated. What's this all about? Why am I in this situation? Why is it that I know something bigger is going on? And then, of course, the human emotions and the traumas that hit you and all that stuff. And I can remember being constantly hearing the holy darkness, the Mother Universe, being in her arms, cradled in her arms, falling back literally falling back in complete faith, knowing that you can't be hurt, and the same type of thing you're talking about. But again, like you said, there was a nurturing, but there was also this incredible power, which I thought it was a masculine thing at the time, and I came to realize later, as I got familiar with things like the Kali energy, just what when she walks in the door, sometimes she's there, she's ready to get down to business. There's no
Yeah,
more.
there's no escape from that one.
No.
Nope.
No. So when these transmissions, these transmissions first came in, like the first time, did you get instruction, or did you just start automatic writing or automatic drawing?
I've always been able to channel through writing. I've always been able to do that. And then I've always just played around with art, whether it's painting or drawing. And I just had an instinct to start sharing it on the internet. And I came across a group called Keeper of the Codes, which is a brilliant community of light code keepers and channelers.
Yeah.
And my work was very seen and held in that group. And I thought, oh, this feels really good. And people are responding to these transmissions. I'll just keep sharing them. And that's what I did. I just kept sharing. And then as I shared, more information would get channeled through. I just came up with the name Blue Star Transmissions one day. It just kind of flowed in. The blue star referring to my connection to Sirius.
Yeah.
And I just kept trusting and sharing. And it just evolved from there. But there was a lot of confirmation and feedback from that group that I'm just so grateful for. And it's so supportive.
I've heard of that group. I thought it was.
Yeah.
I'm actually. I guess I'm in that group. Among other.
You probably are.
But I remember.
Yeah.
And because the guy I'm thinking about, and I can't remember his name. I can't not remember his name, but he does like videos with that type of stuff in it. Do you ever get any like elemental communications or transmissions?
Yeah, I definitely have I call it my fairy side. I definitely have a connection to the fae energy. I haven't explored that recently, but it's always there. I love spending time in nature, and that's a big part of my life, just rejuvenating in nature. And there's some of my other artwork that's got more curved lines, and it's not really the sacred geometry. That's a bit of the fae energy coming in.
Yeah.
Which I find for me is very playful and very childlike. So I really enjoy working with it. But the fae also can have a bit of a dark side too, just like the goddess. It's always light and dark. But the fae are very powerful beings, and they're little tricksters, and you got to be careful with them.
Yeah, I've had a little experience with them. There's quite a few in the back of the house. In fact, I walked out there earlier tonight, and I could see they're coming back. They left for a couple of weeks, but I could see them coming back over the last couple of days. This is very cool. And so, have you had any apparitions? Have you had anything like where your physical eyes are involved and you're seeing something?
No, that's not part of my gift to physically see with my physical eyes. I can sense energies around people, and I can sense if I look at you, there's a guide on that side or an angel on that side, but that's still not my physical eyes. I've seen things in the sky with my physical eyes, but I don't have those other abilities. That's not part of my.
Is that like star family related? Is that what you're talking about in the sky? Or are you talking about cloud formations?
Oh, just things that look like shooting stars or UFOs. That kind of thing. Yeah.
So, and now what part of Australia are you in?
I'm in Sydney.
Oh, you're in Sydney. Okay.
Yeah, I live about 20 minutes outside the city, near the water, which I'm very lucky to live here. I'm very blessed. Yeah.
Have you made a lot of? Because I'm sitting here imagining you drawing these things up, speaking light language, and I'm thinking she must be like in a room, so nobody can hear or see her. Because I would imagine that's not something real common. But have you run into people in the Sydney area? I mean, a lot of people that come on the show, most of their soul family is virtual, is online. And
actually, at the moment, a lot of my soul family is virtual. All my close friends are also, they're in a different country. I'm trying to think if I've actually I've met a few people in Sydney who do the light language, but
Oh,
not a
really?
lot. And they've
Yeah.
only been in certain gatherings of, at a ceremony or a special gathering of people that are meeting to do sound healing or a meditation.
Yeah.
But it's great to meet people who speak the language. I actually recently made a friend online, and her name is Whitney. She lives in Texas. And we met through the light language. So I saw a video of her on Facebook speaking the language, and I instantly recognized her as Soul Family. And I had to connect with her. And our first interaction was literally speaking light language to each other.
Is that right?
And then we got to know each other. Yeah.
So y'all
And it's
flipped,
been a
y'all flipped
great,
on y'all flipped on the camera and y'all just both started going light language. Wow.
Yep.
That's very
Yep.
cool. Very cool.
And then we connected in other ways. We're both mums and trying to balance being a light being and being a mum and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how many kids do you have?
I have 3 kids.
Three
I
kids.
have, I have twin toddlers who are 18 months. They're
Yeah.
girl twins.
I don't sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. I help raise 6. And
Oh.
I can't imagine having 2 18-month-olds in the middle of the ascension.
I know, right?
And how's the
And I
other
have
one?
a stepson who's
Okay.
7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and what's that like with the kids? I mean, you've got a little bit different story because you actually, you were looking, from the time you got out of high school, and you really didn't fall off the wagon, so to speak. Now you're
Well,
I mean, did you go to
I had my
sleep?
moments.
Yeah. Well, I think we all did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, so these kids, like, what kind of effect or influence have they had on your transformation in your journey?
Oh, a lot. The biggest thing is that they actually are motivating me more to share my gifts with the world. Yeah. Before I had my beautiful babies, I had a lot of time to make videos, do art, but I didn't waste time, but I had a lot of time that I probably didn't use as efficiently. And now I use my time very efficiently because I only have a small amount to be creative and do these transmissions. So they're very motivating. I want my children to see me live my purpose because that will inspire them to live theirs, hopefully.
And what's the communication like with the 2 twin 18-month-olds?
18 months.
Is there any telepathic stuff going on? Do you see anything around them like you do with others?
Oh, from the minute I was, pregnant with them, they had so much light around them. When I was pregnant, I went to put protection around them and they're like, we don't need it. We're good.
So you were communicating.
I was like, oh, okay. Oh yeah.
Definitely. Did they communicate with you? Well, they did from the womb then. Were they in the womb?
They did. Just general messages. Like, I went through a bit of initiation at the beginning of the pregnancy because I was very, very sick with morning sickness for about 3 or 4 months, which put me in the hospital twice. So, but it was part of the journey to really empty myself to prepare for this journey of motherhood. Yeah.
Yeah, you got a double dose too.
Yeah.
Because we've talked to a few parents that have had kids, communicating from the womb, communicating once they get out, but to have 2 of them. Yeah. And are they similar in their energy? Or are they somewhat representative of like polarity?
They're completely different. They're so different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Completely different. It's amazing.
What a gift for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a gift. I'm so blessed.
It gives you a pretty good basis of context to find the middle ground, energetically.
Yeah.
To have that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about, I actually feel more grounded now than I ever have in my life. My family definitely grounds me very well.
And how about your partner? Because I've heard a lot of different, a lot of different experiences. Some, and of course, most of the people I've talked to have been women because mostly that's what's been awake first, Some of the times the husbands aren't in the arena, but they kind of live it without saying it, and they let her do what she needs to do and support it. Some of them, not as many I've met, are in the thick of it with them. Has your journey been with your partner?
My partner is very, very supportive of what I do. Yeah. And we actually met at a full moon sound meditation. That's where we met. So from the word go, he kind of knew the realms that I was in and experimenting in, and from the start. So, yeah. And he started awakening probably about 6 or 7 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, he's on his own journey, but we're very supportive and respectful with each other's journey. And I mean, he's definitely more in the he likes Joe Dispenza's work, he likes Tony Robbins, like more in the sort of coaching realm. And a bit more science based. But he knows that I talk to angels and aliens and the light language. I mean, he can actually I know that he can be he is a channel, but he hasn't fully stepped into or explored that yet. But he is definitely a channel. When he gets up to speak to people or goes on a call with someone to support them, he is just completely in his, element, his higher self.
Yeah.
So it's all there waiting for him, and he's very supportive of me.
Very cool.
So I'm very
I
lucky.
bet he likes the light language too, because I know when Morgan does it, she won't do it on camera, but when she does it, it's very sexy. I like it.
Well, it is what it is.
But it lights you up. There's no doubt about it. I mean,
But
I didn't even know she did it, and then I can't remember if she did. I don't know if she did much of it the first time she came in 2017, but in 2018 she came and she started doing it. And it would be like we go into has this ever happened to y'all, where like you're getting a download, you start going to light language, and then he's got to participate as the masculine, so she'd be telling me to do stuff, through light language, and I would understand her, and I would be finding myself, in these very strange situations. but I just trusted the feminine. I trusted the goddess. I didn't want to have to see the mother come in.
Good for you. Yeah. Good
absolutely.
on you for trusting it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's great that you understand it. I was having a chat to a friend the other day about the light language, about how there's sort of, once you've communicated or transmitted it, there is like a packet of energy or a summary of what's been communicated that you can share with people. And sometimes there's not, but I definitely get that, just like a little summary of what that communication was. Definitely not a word for word thing. Light language is all about feeling. I feel like it comes from deep within.
Yeah, absolutely it does. I've heard, of course, doing the show, I've heard so many people do, and I can actually recognize and say, oh, so-and-so does that one. I know Morgan does about like 8 or 10 of them, and I've always been able to tell the difference. Now, I was going to ask you too, in regard to, she's never done that before.
What's that mean?
I don't know. She just came in and threw something down. No, she was fine. She's listening to the show. So in terms of the masculine and feminine, obviously there's been a lot of talk about that. I remember, back in I think 2015, I remember all those posts coming out. I didn't know what it was about. I hadn't met Morgan. I wouldn't meet her till actually 5 years ago today. Isn't that crazy?
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. But there was a lot of talk about the feminine landing, mama's home. And I've watched this whole evolution happen over about 2.5 years. My relationship with Morgan paralleled it. And I've talked to other couples, and there's like this, the couples kind of reflect what's happening energetically in the collective field. Have y'all experienced anything like that? Do y'all ever discuss the feminine and the masculine energy, or get any type of intel directing you, in any way?
Yeah, we definitely have conversations about that kind of thing, and I guess the strengths of each kind of energy. Because I think as human beings, we're still trying to really figure out what that means.
Yeah.
Which it's something you can't really think. You got to feel it. You got to feel your way with that stuff. And there is a lot of information out there about this topic. And I find a lot of it to be, I don't resonate with all of it. I think for each couple, for each union is really different.
Yeah, I agree.
Really different.
I agree.
But, my partner and I have been through a big initiation, having, twin newborns, that first year is really rough. So that was a big initiation and a transition for our relationship too,
I
and
don't know how
we kind of
you
passed a test in one way.
made it. I don't know how you made it. Morgan and I talk about that.
So,
We've got 8 between us, but we're like,
oh
man,
my,
so
yeah,
glad we didn't have any in the house while we're trying to do this. But
yeah, it's a lot.
So,
Yeah.
and I get what you're saying too, because I've talked to a lot of couples, and it's interesting. Morgan is very, very feminine, and I'm tend to be very, very masculine, and yet, of course, there's been a lot of revelations and epiphanies and stuff along the way, including about 5 nights ago when my feminine popped out, her masculine popped out, and then we watched the higher selves, her masculine make love to my feminine, as our light bodies
Mm.
were. So it was just,
Wow, that's
yeah,
wow.
that was very incredible. But what
Mm.
I was getting at is when I've talked to a lot of these couples, because we've had a lot of couples, we've probably had 40 couples on, some same sex, mostly, opposite sex, but you can see the makeup. Like I can be talking to a couple and I can see part of me in the woman and part of Morgan in the
Ah,
man. So like when you
yep,
say, and it would make sense too that every couple would be different because every individual is different, so that would make sense.
yeah. And every couple comes in like with all our, I guess some baggage. I mean,
Yeah.
as light workers, we're always trying to keep on top of that stuff. And then you've got all the past life stuff and the ancestors. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot wanting to be resolved during this time within the galactic lines and the Earth timelines and the generational timelines. There's a lot of healing available at this time, and it can be done a lot quicker than 5 years ago, even 10 years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's all that comes into play as well with two people coming together
Yeah.
and creating a life together in a relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a fast track. There's no doubt about it, and it tickles me sometimes because, and you're right. There's a lot of distortion even with the term twin flames, which we don't use, but it's like everyone. There's one of the I think distortions and misconceptions is, oh, I found him, I found my partner. Everything's going to be like purely copacetic now and fluffy
Mm.
love and light, and it's not like that. It's like, there's that whole thing about it's always darkest before the dawn, or even energetic separations.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much involved with it that I think we're kind of like building, or creating, or like creating a new template or expanded template or something. It's
Yeah.
interesting though. It really is. And so
Yeah.
you've got the
Mm.
twins and you've got the partner and you're navigating it on your own. Yeah. What were you going to
Yeah,
say?
that's it.
Yeah.
I don't remember now.
Yeah, all right. That's okay.
Oh,
That's all
actually, I do remember. I was going to say, so the artwork behind me, the larger one,
right.
if you can see it, that one that is called Archangel Metatron's Balance. And that is definitely a representation of the balance of divine feminine and masculine, that image.
Far out.
Yeah.
That's far out. Yeah.
So that particular image came to me in meditation. So some of the images come to me in very different ways, but that one was visually around me in the meditation.
Oh, it
And I
was.
was working with that geometry. So sometimes I like to, like, you can kind of put the transmission on, like you can put yourself in the geometry. And I find that very powerful in
Yeah.
meditation.
To
When
put
you ask for
yourself
it to your team to put geometric shapes around you, I find it very, very effective.
And how did you cultivate those techniques like that? Was that through instruction through your team, or
It's
did you
just my higher self. Yeah, it's just me.
just
Yeah.
instinctively? Yeah.
Yeah. I just trust all that stuff now. I used to question it, like, is it my imagination? Am I just, but
Yeah. Right.
it's real. So I just trust it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. I think everybody here does. But at least we know now there's enough crazy people out there that at least we have a good case to make for ourselves that we're not crazy. How do you come up
There's
with?
way too many of us.
Yeah,
Way
well,
too
and
many.
I wonder about that. Like when you were talking about the light language a minute ago, I was wondering. I wonder how many people on the face of the earth have done light language. I wonder about that.
Mm.
I mean, I remember like
Yeah.
30 years ago, 30 something. Yeah, 25, 30 years ago. I remember, and of course I was in the 3D in business, and I would go home every day at lunch, and I would go in the hallway and close all the doors, had this little hallway, and make it black. And I started doing this chanting. I didn't do it for, anything like that for 15 or 20 years after, but I did it for a period of time. And on the end of that period of time, all this abundance came in. But I just think about something like that, and I think, I wonder how many people, out of 7.7 billion have done light language.
That's a great question.
I think it's a lot bigger number than we think.
I think so too. If you connect into the group of keepers of the codes, there's thousands of people in that group.
Is that right?
And I think, yeah. So, but the light language, it's a soul language. So everyone on some level has access to this language. And it can be expressed in different ways. Some people really, they don't speak it and they only draw it or they write it but for me, the voice is how it wants to be expressed. But yeah, there's got to be heaps of people out there, because the more you tune into your soul essence, these gifts come out because it's part of who we are. Yeah. Yeah,
I agree with that. So is that called Keepers of the Codes? Is that the name of it? Or Keeper of the Golden Light Codes?
No, Keeper of the Codes. Keepers of the Codes.
Okay, I don't think I'm in that one. I'm just pulling it up real quick.
Yeah, you have to request to join.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's a page. Oh, there it's a group. I see the group now. Yeah.
It's a group.
So the group's 11,000 people. And there's also Keepers of the couple other ones I saw there too, which might have been the one I was familiar with. I'm going to join that group just so I can check it out.
It's amazing what people bring through in that group. Yeah.
Oh, I bet. Absolutely.
Yeah. During big periods of, like the Lion's Gate that we've just come through, there's a big influx of activations and light codes coming from people through their artwork and their spoken language and dance and all kinds of expressions.
Wow. And what about, so like this one that you were talking about, the Metatron one?
Metatron's, Archangel Metatron's balance.
Okay.
That's what I was told to call it.
And I've always had this thing. I've never connected to, I don't know why, but I've never actually connected to Metatron. And I don't know why that is. Okay. I'm connected to, I don't know, whatever, 100 other ones. But so I'm curious, like with this one here, what did he come through? Did that energy come through and tell you this is what it was? How does that happen? How did you attribute the name Metatron to that one?
Yeah, I was working with Metatron when I was meditating when it came through. And then it was such a strong image that I was working with. I'm like, well, I have to replicate it. And there's only been maybe one other transmission where it's happened in that way. It's funny because Metatron as a consciousness, I probably wouldn't call him an archangel, but it's just a title that people recognize. That's probably why it was told to use in that way.
Right.
But it's a consciousness. It's kind of like, I'm being told, like the master geometry consciousness. It's like, something just fell off the wall.
Metatron.
Yeah.
Seriously, I don't doubt it.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like now I'm being told like a creation consciousness, like, because the language of sacred geometry is that of the whole universe and the basis of all creation.
Yes.
Okay. So that's big.
And that would make sense too, because if you have that center, and you've got, let's just call it masculine and feminine, right? That area in between is that creative field, that womb, so that would make sense.
Yeah, the womb.
Now I was going to
the womb is
Yes. I got it. And I'm getting something else too from what fell off the wall, but I won't go there yet.
Oh, please share.
Oh, I got to wait till my arms. I feel like I just walked into a freezer.
Oh, okay.
Like, no, you're gonna get me now. Don't worry about it. You've been the first thing I got actually was, so when you said that, something just fell off the wall, and I'm like, okay, I know. Was that you know me by other names? That's what I heard. You know me by a couple of other names, and I guess that'll come in. Okay. I was, and you can add anything you want to. All right, so I wanted to ask you too. You talk about sacred geometry in regard to your transmissions, and in regard to the creative energy of the universes. Where do you know anything about plasma? Does plasma fit in anywhere in these? Has that ever come in? I'm just curious because I've heard people talk about that.
I've heard that term. I'm going to say no. I haven't
Mhm.
received anything about plasma.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. I was just
Mm.
curious about it. Now,
Mm.
I noticed when I went to your site that you do one of the tabs, I think the first tab where I think it says like products or services, or
Yep.
it says custom transmissions or custom. So
Yeah.
do you actually do individual
Yes.
creations for people? Okay. And
Yeah. So, yeah, I will create a custom transmission for people. So that includes an artwork, like the one you see behind me, and a some channeled information, which I'll usually just record as an audio file, and you get that with your transmission, which is just information about what came through, the purpose of the artwork, and usually it's information about star family. A lot of it. I always attract people who are integrating their Atlantis self, or something to do with Atlantis is very big theme.
I was going to ask you about
Yeah, that's a big one. So
and
yeah,
so
that's what you get for a custom transmission.
so let me ask you this too. I know I'm nosy, but I have a curious mind. Because people talk about, and I've asked a couple other people this recently, and I've not really gotten an answer, and there is no right or wrong. I'm just trying to understand. If people have said, I've picked up on where people have said it's very important to know your star lineage. And you just made a comment that a lot of times when you're doing this, that their galactic lineage comes through. What's your perspective on that?
Okay. So as an example, my understanding most recently in the last year or two is that the Arcturians that I'm channeling, the Syrians, other energies, they're not separate beings from me. They are part of my galactic self.
Yes.
And if I say the Arcturians, there's lots of different systems and planets and countries, like there is on Earth of Arcturians.
Yes.
There's not just one group of Arcturians, there's lots of groups. Same with the Syrians, not as many Syrians. So it's part of just remembering our multi-dimensional galactic self.
Yeah.
And when you are able to connect with those aspects of yourself that want to work for your highest good, then you can bring all of your energy back, reclaim your power, reclaim your gifts, and then you can express your unique divine self here on Earth. Because in my opinion, that is what we are here to do.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. That fits.
Yeah, on whatever level we can. You don't have to know all this information to be able to express yourself in that way.
Yeah,
it's not necessary.
My impression was that, and I'll just be blunt. I used to be a lot more blunt, but I've learned to be more
blunt
diplomatic.
Is good.
More I'm married to Mrs. Blunt, so.
Okay.
But, no, because to me it just seemed like another box somebody was creating. Like, you have to take this path, and I'm like, I'm with you. And the next Morgan feels the same way. I mean, it's like these are just metaphoric in nature, if you want to use that term, to bring you the information. Once you receive the information, then that code is reawakened. Other than that, and I fly with all of that. I noticed that some of the people I talk to, you're a little bit different, because you said I've gotten all kinds of stuff come through. Lately, it's been such and such, right? But some I see will stay with a particular vein of infinite intelligence, so to speak. You know what I mean? And I go, okay, why is that? But I agree with you. I think it's all, even like we had some star family beings come in the room a couple of years ago, and two of them walked into me. And one was a Syrian and one was an Alpha Centaurian. And even though there was a physical element and a translucent apparitions involved, I still understood that it was no different than me getting a download that was strictly third eye, or whatever the case was.
Yeah,
they were me. They were part of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the same information.
Yeah.
That's it.
What about
Um,
like? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. There's a
I know.
little.
I was just going to say I agree that it's not necessary to know your galactic
Yeah.
origins to. It's the same thing with the twin flame. It's not a necessary thing to do
Yeah.
to go to get to a place on your spiritual journey. It's just that is not how it works.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that is not the
Um,
way of things.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you on
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And then what was I going to say? That so okay. So like, I do think that there's a lot of relevance to, and I even saw some people put a comment up in regard to Arcturians and maybe a little lesser the Syrians, but the Arcturian energy has, to me anyway, in my field, would be my own personal experience, which would include doing these shows, which is that the Arcturians, I want to go back like maybe 3 years, has just gotten louder and louder and louder and louder. And I know they got very direct with me on certain functions or certain purposes that I have. But yeah, it seems like that they're really coming into the collective field in a big way. Do you have any perspective on that?
Yes, I'm just breathing because as you're talking, my heart's like I can feel all this energy is building from within. So I'm just gonna, yeah, the Arcturians have been coming through really strong for me. As you're talking, I'm just getting the word crop circles, that they are involved in a lot of the crop circles communications because they work a lot with sacred geometry.
Yeah.
I have a crop circle book on my bookshelf just behind the camera. Yeah, so much I want to say, I don't know where to start.
Take as long as you want.
So the Arcturians, for me, when they come through the artwork, they always come as the Trinity, the triangle, or pyramid. And they are very, very advanced, but they're also very, very compassionate. They have big hearts. And they are here to help us remember who we really are.
Yeah.
And a lot of the transmissions, they like the transmissions with the geometry because there doesn't need to be words. It's just the energy speaking for itself.
Right.
And they also work through sound, tones, singing, chanting, light language. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of people watching this now or going to watch this that are connecting more with the Arcturians. I'm just going to sit for a minute because I just want to see if they have something to bring through, if that's okay. Because I can
Absolutely.
just feel them really strong.
Absolutely it is.
Piantato tisikem piatot kekiamatia sototiam pakieti kapakiatisi. Uvestata sintotiamo te kiapaya pataya takisi. Uamaya sitiamo. Yiti semputusia toria kamaya to kabia sientalo. Yalo sikipu tisandaria mukul. Yitiamai kiti anto sekiama. Yasuria me kataya mutakisintum pe porisika ingaloso. Ah, yeah, ha, yeah, ha, hey, ha, hey, he, ha, ha. Yeah, shoo, phew, shoo, shoo, amoli, tikito suditi amoli, atale sitalia sinkidoria amol, yito ya miss Italia daik. Urisiantain musiki into subia doliama. Yes, santora yamaya toru, miator, yit, ya soto tot yit, ay, oh. They're saying just at the end, we are a river of light and we are swimming together. We are a river of light and we are swimming together.
Wow. Whew. That gave me a head rush. Big time. And everyone else, I think, pretty much feels the same way. Wow. Heather's
That beginning part, they were directing directly at you, and then they had a different message for everybody.
Yeah, I kind of
I don't
felt.
know if you felt that.
Yeah, I did, because the inside, I feel like somebody's inside my skull pushing it out.
Okay.
Like, make more room, make more room.
Ooh, make more room. Okay.
And the funny thing was, I was thinking to myself, well, I almost want to apologize because but the energy's really been powerful lately. I mean, it really has. I always am able to get into this chair, even if I'm like falling apart 10 minutes or 5 minutes beforehand. But I was thinking, God, and the thought came in, it's like, I almost want to apologize to everybody for not being sharp, the last whatever. And then you started that and it went into my head and it was like pushing out, almost like, okay, we're going to give you a little bit more, energy or wherewithal or whatever. Right.
Yeah. I find that the sound and the language, it moves energy very quickly. It can be very intense.
Yeah.
But for some reason, in my experience, I've always felt connected to music and sound, and that's why I can do this work. But the sound is physical light. Like that's why it's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm real big on movement. I used to dance a lot, and when I was waking up, and I didn't realize till later that, because I use my arms and my hands a lot, and I didn't realize till later that was probably some type of light language, because it really anchored me in a tough time. And then as I saw more people express light language in other ways than just, because it is not just, it's more than, it is everything. It's the movement, it's the colors, it's the sounds, Yeah, very powerful.
Yeah. As I mentioned before, I made a new friend online and I watched her video of light language and immediately felt a resonance with her. And in her video, she was doing all of the mudras and hand movements that I recognized and that I often did. And I just thought, wow, that's just, it's beautiful to watch. And she is in her goddess essence delivering it too. So it's about the whole emanation of what's being offered. Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Far out, man. All these cool goddesses in Australia.
Yeah, here we are.
I know. So many of them. I see some of them on here that have been on the show too. Let's see. So how do people find you? Now, your website is it bluestartransmissions.com? Is that what it is?
That's my website.
Okay. Blue Star.
And everything is Blue Star Transmissions. So that's my website, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram. And I've just put up a YouTube channel, and I've just posted a video of my friend and I having a chat about light language. So you guys can check that out too.
Absolutely, yeah. So, and that's Blue Star Transmissions on YouTube?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah, that's definitely something that needs to be out there. There's no doubt about it. It really is.
Yeah, a lot of people are awakening to it now because it's part of the soul gifts, like we said before. Yeah, everyone's coming online.
I know. Isn't it like
exciting?
It really is. And what's crazy is you have this whatever you want to call it, this movie script or cartoon playing out on the literal global stage, At the same time, it's almost like a direct relationship. As one gets more extreme, the other one gets more extreme. So it's going to be really interesting to see if there's going to be some kind of like point where a line is drawn. You know what I mean? And I guess within themselves, it occurs, but you just, it's just the curious part of me. I just wonder at some point, but I mean, how else to get pushed to sovereignty, but to say, I've had enough of this. I'm done. That's what we all did,
That's
really.
It. Yeah, we're calling back our sovereignty. Yeah, and this is like thousands of years in the making. This is a lot of, culmination of a lot of energies ready to go. I will not stand for this. I am a sovereign being. I am who I am. Like, it's interesting to watch because as the agenda gets pushed harder and harder, everyone's just, push back even more. And it's not really it shouldn't be a battle anymore. It's like,
No,
from my perspective,
no. It's like
it's all
it's like,
over. It's just,
yeah,
there is no battle anymore. It's already over. You
yeah.
just got to
It
keep
is.
choosing the
That's exactly.
timeline,
Yeah,
the energy, the vision for what we want.
yeah,
And that's where you'll be. That's,
yeah,
you decide, you vote with your energy. Um,
yeah.
but a lot of people are struggling at the moment. And that's why, if there's people watching this and you've got your gifts and you know, you're not sure whether to share them or how to share them, just if they're going to help people, just share them. If they're from your
Do it.
heart, your soul, share them. Like, the world needs it now.
Yeah.
This is the time now.
And
Yeah.
your team and or the mother goddess isn't going to let you sit on the sidelines anymore. I mean, more and more people are
Yeah,
stepping up and they're like, I don't want to do this, but I got to, I know I have to. And
exactly. Their guide's going, you got to do it.
and the
You got to step
energetic,
up.
yeah, the energetic force of that, it's not even about, well, it is, but I mean, there's more to it in the energetic field. Like somebody stepping up and getting past their fears and pushing through creates a huge, reverberation into the human hybrid holy grid. I mean, it's amazing. I was going to ask you too before we get out of here. So you mentioned Lemuria and Atlantis
Yeah.
in your session work and your communion. Like you had mentioned the Syrian and Arcturian. Is there
Yeah.
any intel, like collective intel? And I'm not looking, like, yeah, just is there any collective intel that you've picked up on, like where we're at, how we doing, what's happening, that type of stuff?
It feels like there's two questions there. So you're kind of like, how are we doing? But also Atlantis and Lemuria. That's interesting.
Well, oh, I'm sorry. What I meant by that, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is what I meant by being punchy and not being, totally with it.
It's
Um,
okay.
well, yeah, because again, as time has gone on, Lemuria and Atlantis, particularly Atlantis, uh, but not to take anything away from Lemuria, but they
Hmm.
have really been put out there more and more and more and more. And I just feel like, is this? I mean, for me, it's like, for instance, okay, I think we're picking up where we left off, or I don't know. It feels a little different than
Yeah.
galactic to me. But
Yeah.
so, I mean, through those, sessions you've done and what you picked up on through your work and through your own personal experience, is there
Yeah.
anything coming in from any of those four elements or even collectively, that where we at, how we doing, what the hell's
Yeah.
going on, that type of
Okay.
thing.
So the information that's coming through now, as you're asking, is that um, a lot of us long for the days of what we call the golden Atlantis and the golden times. We long for that, and we remember that in ourselves. And there's also a lot of trauma we remember from those times, depending on when we were incarnated and all that,
Hmm.
because those civilizations were very long time ago and very long stretches of time. So they are important, but the biggest message I'm getting right now is that everything is to be renewed. Everything, like, we can use a little template from what we've done in the past,
Yeah,
absolutely, have the
yeah,
vision, but
I agree.
everything is like, it's like we're really starting afresh with everything,
Yeah,
and we have to.
yeah,
That's what we're really being called to do. We're called to be creative, innovative, with where we're at now. We have to create something new that we've never done before, and maybe that's why it is daunting. This
yeah,
is brand new for
yeah,
everybody,
yeah,
as a collective. And the collective is humanity. It's also all of our star families, which are involved in our creation,
yeah.
and all of the other beings from the universe who are, helping us evolve, because this evolution is happening all throughout the universe, not just here.
That's
Earth
right.
is a very important key in the whole story.
That's right. That's right.
But I've been told quite a few times that this is a cosmic event. We're very important, and we're a big key, but this is bigger than us.
Yeah,
And that is why everything is going to be okay, because the
yeah.
universe has got our back. This is source. We are all of the same essence.
That's right.
That's why there is no battle. There is no battle. There is
I
just
agree.
like, some of us have lost our way a bit, and some of us are just remembered who we are. but
I
we're all
agree.
the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree totally with the takeaways for me are, if you feel, if you're getting something and you have even the thought to share it, because it's not going
Yeah.
to be the marching and the protesting, the boycotting. It's going to be the infusion of these pure energies of remembrance put into our grid, even though it might not be
Yeah.
communicated through the mainstream media or whatever, everybody's feeling it. That's a big one.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing is, yeah, everything that we're doing, we are affecting and aligning all timelines and dimensions. So it's almost like,
Mm.
like I remember my higher self told me a while back, I'm learning as much from you as you're learning from me. Uh, and then I
That's
think
great.
you made a reference
Yeah.
earlier to the beings that want to come here to come into this realm. I mean, this is a very, very, very special place. And I know I'm biased, but in this moment, I got to say, we're in the thick of it. We're physical, yet we're non-physical. And that's mind blowing to think of the potential of that. Like if, Morgan and I wanted to pop over to dinner with you and your partner, in an hour or two, it's a doable, it's feasible. It's
Yeah.
probably,
You might need a couple of practice goes, but yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Teleport.
You might end up in the, Antarctica and overshoot the runway or something.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I'd love to get together with you again.
That'd
I
be
think
great. I'm
you have a
totally
lot.
up for doing another.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
let's do
Yeah,
it.
you have a lot to offer, and I want to thank you very much for sharing so openly with us. And I would invite everybody in this year of collaboration and co-creation, supporting each other, to visit bluestartransmissions.com. And
Thank you.
just I went today, and I don't get impressed very easily, but I thought it was very, very powerful, just like this interview. So best to you and your family.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, what a privilege to co-create this experience with you and put light and love out to everybody. This is what we're here to do. So, oh, blessings. Thank you so much.
Right on. You take care. See y'all
You
tomorrow,
too.
everybody. Take care.
Big love from Australia. Bye.